We'll look at some basic examples using chain rule. So let's look at the first function, f of x equals x to the 7th. We know how to do this derivative. We use the rule f of x equals x to the n, f prime of x is equal to n, x to the n minus 1. So it's going to be 7, x to the 1 less than the power, so it's 7x to the 6th. Now let's look at a function f of x equals, let's say, x squared plus 1 whole to the 7th power. Now this is a function of a function, which means it's a composition of two functions, right? It doesn't look like x to the 7th. It's a function of x to the 7th power. So this is how we do it. So now first let's just pretend like that's an x to the 7th. So how would we differentiate it if it were just an x to the 7th? We'd go 7 x to the 7 minus 1, which is 6. But then we have to remember that's not x, it's a function of x. So then that's where the chain rule comes in. Whatever you see inside the parentheses, you need to differentiate that. So the next step is 7 x squared plus 1 to the 6th power. The derivative of the inner function x squared plus 1 is 2x plus 0, which is 2x. So now the final answer is 7 times 2, which is 14. X, always put the x on the left side of the parentheses, to the 6th power. Okay. So now suppose we had f of x equals, let's say, 2x minus 3 to the 7th power. Very similar. It's not x to the 7th power, it's a function of x to the 7th power. But it looks a lot like something to the 7, and it reminds us of the polynomial x to the 7th power. So what do we do first? So our first step is pretend like this whole thing is an x, not forgetting that it's not, right? So we go 7, whatever it is, to the 6th power. But then it's not an x, it's a function of x. Once we write this, we are reminded that we need to use the chain rule, which means we multiply with d by dx of the inner function, which is 2x minus 3. So this is 7 times 2x minus 3 to the 6th power times the derivative of 2x minus 3. So derivative of 2x is 2 and minus 0. So that's a 2. And 7 times 2 is 14. 2x minus 3 to the 6th power. Now let's look at another example. F of x equals radical x plus 1 to the 7th power. So again, remind yourself it looks like x to the 7th. However, it is not. It's a function of x to the 7th power. So therefore, we use the chain rule. And just be reminded here, this is the derivative. We start with the function and then we differentiate. So the derivative of x is, pretend like this whole thing is an x. So that's 7 x to the 6th. But remember, at the end, it is not. It's a function of x. That should remind us that we use the chain rule, which means we find the derivative of radical x plus 1. So that is 7 radical x plus 1 to the 6th power. D by dx of radical x plus 1 is 1 over 2 radical x plus 0. So that's it. So we have 7 over 2 radical x times radical x plus 1 to the 6th power.